I think they move him around a lot. They want to put him in positions where he's rushing the passer. I think it's going to be very interesting the way they utilize him because, he is not a standard guy that, normally you got bigger guys who, would be like defensive ends and things. So they can't utilize him that way. So I'm going to be interested because, but that 5-man front, I think that's what they were thinking when they got him because that's where he fits.
Man, a lot of things, a lot of question marks. Let's bring in my friend from Fox 29, Garry Cobb. G. Cobb, I appreciate you doing this, man. Thank you so much here. Let me ask you right out of the gate here. How do you see Jonathan Gannon using Haason Reddick this year?
Well, they like to use that 5-man front, where they got, they've got the 2 guys outside and they got the 3 inside where they got the guards where they're covered, the center's covered. Because a lot of times, some of the guys they're not at their best when they're covered like that. So they're basically saying, okay, we're going to force the tackles to do the pulling and everything. But so I think they're going to play, a great deal of that, the 5-man front. I think you're going to see him utilized as a few times, some as a linebacker, but for the most part, he's a pass rusher. He's not a linebacker, even though he's listed as a linebacker. He's like a linebacker in the 34 cents.
He's 6'1", 230, Gary. So you can't line him up, put his hand down in the dirt, or you can't line him up on the strong side.
That's right.
You think they move him around a lot?
I think they move him around a lot. They want to put him in positions where he's rushing the passer. I think it's going to be very interesting the way they utilize him because, he is not a standard guy that, normally you got bigger guys who, would be like defensive ends and things. So they can't utilize him that way. So I'm going to be interested because, but that 5-man front, I think that's what they were thinking when they got him because that's where he fits. But, in a 34, and they're going to be playing some 34. I think they're going to show different looks. But the way it is now, everybody's thinking about the passing game when they line up people. They're not thinking about the running game. And you can think about this also. Tampa Bay. That Tampa Bay defense, what do? They got these 2 behemoths inside. And see, that's what they're thinking, I think, when they think about Jordan Davis. He's a guy in there, you got to double him. You can't, one of those guys can't block him. He's so big and so powerful that you're going to have a lot of trouble single blocking him. So that occupies a guy, and I think they're thinking that way. I think that he probably was looking at what Todd Bowles was doing down there with that Tampa Bay defense where, so they do that, but they got to develop that kid as a pass rusher. They got to develop him in that sense, but he's got the size. I mean, he's a monster, and he almost just forces you. He'll stand up a double team. He's got long arms. He's just huge. And so I think they're thinking that way, putting him and Fletcher in there sometimes. They got enough people in there to where they can rotate those guys inside.
I think this kid, Milton Williams, I think he's going to be a factor as well. And
I
Gary,
think so.
The last 2 times that you've been on, I think this is one of the question marks going into minicamp and into the OTAs and eventually into July camp is they need to expect more on 3rd down from Jordan Davis. We already know he's going to be a factor, we believe, on 1st and 2nd down. He just can't be a run stopper. He's got to be effective in the money down, which is the 3rd down. So it's going to be interesting to see how Gannon also utilizes him to put him in a position to succeed.
Without a doubt. Now I was over there at their practice, and they, they weren't having an intense practice, but I could see the kid's he's got to get in better shape. After every time he does something, the kid's got his hat off. Look, leave your helmet on, kid. What you're not even going through one play because you're not tackling anybody, you're not battling anybody, just doing little light drills. He's got his helmet off immediately. So he's got to get in better shape, and so the whole thing with the way he eats and with the way he works out. But he is a specimen. I mean, he is huge. And, you know, because I saw a picture of him standing next to Fletcher. He make Fletcher, you know, Fletcher's 6'4", 320. He make Fletcher look like a little guy, man.
Hey, Gary, I think you hit on something because I saw Burks in the Tennessee Titans mini camp with helmets and shorts, and he was gassed, and he was a wide receiver, and now you're telling me this kid just going through shorts and helmet, you're seeing he's a little gassed. Boy, if that's me, I get like Velcro, and I'm going to stand next to Fletcher Cox as much as I can because I can't have that look where the coaches are looking at me going, so he's not in shape for minicamp? This guy better get his ass in shape for training camp.
That's right. That's right. Well, he's going to have to. And, you know, they got to keep him up here. They got to work him out. I mean, he's got to be in the kind of shape because he's a big man. And he's got to, you know, be disciplined about the way he eats. And, you know, see, nowadays, you know, it's different than when we played, really. These guys are making $30, $20 million. They can hire somebody just to take care of their food. They can hire somebody to work them out. Whatever they do, this is business. This is not a hobby. You know, where you get to it when no, this is not a hobby. So he's got to train. He's got to get in better shape because, like I said, he's got his helmet off. Like after every play, look, kid, you can't do that. So he got to get in better shape, and they got to teach him how to rush the passer. But the kid is a specimen. He's, you know, you got the tools there to do it. But, you know, this is a job now. This is a profession. And, you know, when he was down there, they took him off the field on third downs and things. He's not coming off the field. Look, we're expecting you to go in there. You got to play however long we need you to play. So that's going to be something. But they definitely will be rotating those guys anyway. So, but he's got to get in better shape. And he probably knows that. Some of the other guys, too, and in fairness, a lot of them were training just for the 40, you know.
Yes.
I mean, so you're just training for that, and you're not thinking about the conditioning. But it's almost June.
No, you right now, you and me would be doing this. Hey, if you're not in shape now, you're late.
That's right. You better believe it. You're going to be in trouble because, you know, it's going to be hot. You know, you got to get in there. You got to play however many plays. You got that equipment on. He was out there in shorts. He didn't have any equipment on. You know,
plus me and you had 3 months of two-a-days. They don't have that any longer to get in shape.
They don't have that anymore. So, you know, that's going to be something they got to do with him. But I definitely think they're thinking of a lot. They're going to see a lot of that 5-man front, you know, because you got those big guys inside putting pressure up the gut. And you got, you know, you can send one of the outside rushers or you send both of them, you know. And but Haason Reddick's going to be coming outside. You know, be lined up kind of as a linebacker position. And they're going to do some things to move him around and everything, but they're not going to put him in a position where he's taking on lining up head-to-head on opposite tackle.
Gary, I threw this out. I think one of the reasons that we didn't land on Honey Badger and how he looked at it and said, I'm not spending $33 million. I threw this out in the last hour here. You know, I went back and watched some tape on Marcus Epps, 60 tackles, more reps maybe. Let's see what the kid can do. As you know, you can't have premium guys at every single position because there's a salary cap that you've got to deal with.
I kind of like
Epps. Do you think Marcus Epps could be, with more reps, effective enough to play in that defense?
Yeah, I like the job he was doing. I could see where you got a young player that's developing, and I see promise in him. So I kind of like Epps. You know, out of some of the other guys back there at that safety spot, and it seems like he's got some cover ability. You know, in the where you got help over the top and different things, he's got that coverage ability. So he's the kind of safety that fits in that 3 safety type of defense, which they like to play. Where you got 3 safeties on the field, you got help over the top, but you need somebody that'll go up and tackle. And, you know, he's not that big, but it seems like he will go up. He's the kind of guy that will go up and hit people. So I think he fits in. I think they definitely look at him. They were pleased at what they saw of him last year because, he didn't have a lot of experience, but I liked what I saw out of him.
Yeah, I did too. I went back and watched him on film. I watched some YouTube on him.
Yeah.
He's got, and again, you and I know this, more reps, let's see what the kid can do with a full season and understanding what Jonathan Gannon is going to be doing with this new group of guys, especially in the front seven. Let me ask you about another guy.
Yeah.
I brought this up last week to you because I said that Miles Sanders probably will not be re-signed at the end of the year. Depends on what kind of season he has, but availability has been a big problem when it comes to Miles Sanders. Could we see Boston Scott here maybe get a little bit more playing time here because you got a kid on a better deal? You have an offensive line that is number one. What's your take on Boston Scott? Do you think he's got playmaking ability in there? Because, again, the issue with Miles Sanders has been availability. Could you see him starting to get a little bit more reps, especially if they get that screen game going?
Okay, now last week I went up there to the practice, and Miles Sanders, he talked, but I really didn't see him work out, not to mention. But I saw they had some of the veterans, they made them available. Haason Reddick was one of them. Miles Sanders was another. Now, he was really talked about his availability and the fact that he wasn't there. He was down about it. They have talked to him about it. So that's something that he is really thinking about this year because he wants to be available. But, I think he's going to have a good year if he can stay healthy. He's got the capabilities of being a good player. But Boston Scott has shown that he's a professional. He's not that big. He knows what he's doing every time you put him in there. He's going to be at the right place at the right time. He can make a guy miss. You need to make one of the guys miss at least out in the open field. He does a good job. He's not really big enough to be picking up any blitzes. He can go in there and try to cut a guy or something like that. But he's so small that, he can't hold a blitzer back that long. But the big thing he has been available, though. He hasn't where he's missed all this time. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how healthy that those guys stay back there, and Miles has got to stay healthy. Do I think they're going to sign him to a big deal if he has a good year? I don't think so. I don't know that they're going to do that. I don't think that's part of their formula. I don't think the running back position is one of the positions they look at, and this is where we're going to spend money. Because you see, they've had success. When they went to the Super Bowl, they had some veteran guys in there, and they were all sharing time. They don't have a guy that they feature.
They'd rather spend money, Gary. Do you agree, Gary? They'd rather spend money in the O-line than in running backs.
That's the way they are about it. And really, I hate to do it to the running backs, but I agree with them. Because running backs, you can get a young kid come in there with fresh legs, and he's a pretty smart kid. He can get in there and contribute right away. If you got a good line in front of him, look at all those guys got yardage behind that line. That line was opening holes. You could put anybody back there and they're going to get yardage. And it's more valuable to spend that money on that offensive line than the running backs. So I don't know what's going to happen with Miles after, but if he asks for a lot of money, he's not going to get it here. I don't think that's part of their formula. They spend money on the offensive line, on the defensive line. And that's what Howie and them believe in. And really, I think they're right.
How about at right guard? What do you see them doing? Do you see Driscoll or this kid Isaac playing at the right guard position? How do you think they address that position now? Obviously, the best offensive line coach in the NFL. They've got depth there at this position here. Do you think this is going to be one of the open positions for battle here as we get into training camp?
I think it's going to be, I think that's going to kind of be open. But, Malo's got, experience and everything. But I tell you, I haven't seen the kid play a lot. Of course, all I've seen is on tape. But the kid that they just drafted, this is a big kid, man. He's not the size of Jason, He's got the athleticism that Jason Kelsey has, but he's much bigger than Jason. I'm talking about, Cam Jurgens. I don't know what he's going to be able to do. I haven't seen him play. He's got a lot to learn. But they're going to work him at the guard position. You know,
so
that's
say Amalo and Driscoll, and you see the new kid. There's going to be an open competition for that right guard position.
But I would probably lean towards Isaac. You know, say Amalo because of experience and he's used to working with Lane. But if he were to go down or anything, I mean, I could see where you know, one of those other guys would jump in there. You know, but you know, I think we'll just have to wait until they go in there to kind of get a look at them. But say Omalo's the one I would say is probably going to wind up with the job. He's got the experience, and you know he's been working with those guys. A lot of it has to do with working with those guys beside you, communicating with them, and he's got a big advantage there because he's worked with those two guys beside him, with Jason on one side and Lane on the other. He has done that for years, so I probably would give him the advantage.
Last question for you. You know, I brought this up. Do you think, you know, let's hypothetically just do this. Jalen, he improves in everything the quarterback needs to improve in, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, though, Gary, how much is availability a concern for the organization? Because, again, we're talking about a guy who missed some time last year and also went under the knife at the end of the year. We're talking about a guy who's a better runner than a passer. He had 140 rushes last year, which means 140 more opportunities for you to take a shot somewhere in the process, let alone just taking shots in the pocket. We're talking about a guy who absorbs a lot of hits, not the biggest guy. I know he's a workout guy, and he has to be because for the kind of pounding that he's going to take. They're the number one rushing offense in the NFL because of him, so they're relying on him. Does availability become a question mark going into this year, or at least a thought process that he may miss time here with this style of play? And if you're Jonathan Gannon, is there a backup plan here that in case this goes awry like this? Because you and I know, hey, there's a moccasin on the wall for him, and he's going to get hit again.
Yep.
Just like Lamar gets availability, Gary, is a question mark in Baltimore. Okay, look at the injuries he's gone through the last 2 years. Just your sense on that, how you look at that as they are evaluating him, throwing the ball, and also his availability and durability here.
Well, you know, I think that they know that issue is there because the way he likes to run and the fact that they make him a part of the offense running the ball. I think if he comes out and he shines in the passing game, they're going to cut down on putting him in position to run the football because anybody that watches the game knows if your quarterback runs a lot, he's not going to be there all the time. I don't know of a quarterback who has run, who has been able to stay away from getting hurt occasionally. And if he gets hurt, then that puts you in a position where you could be headed to the playoffs and you don't have your quarterback. So they don't really want that. They would really like to see him progress more in his passing game to where they don't have to use him in the running game. But that means, you know, he's got to step it up in the passing game because they became so reliant on the running game. Remember last year, where they started, they had to make him part of the running game, you know, because he's got that ability and because they really needed it because they weren't that advanced in the passing game. But they got to switch that around. I think they would like to do that. We're going to find out whether they're capable of doing that or not. You know, do they lean on their running game? You know, they got a chance now where they could come out and what you know, I mean, look at a team like Tampa Bay. They'll come out and jump on you and get ahead of you, and then they'll start running.
Oh, yeah.
After they get a lead, you know. But they're going to throw the ball as much as they want to. And if they're slicing you up, if you got any kind of issues, they're going to come out and they're going to jump on that lead. They're going to go right after you aggressively. That's the way the Eagles would like to play. They would like to come out and throw the ball, get ahead of you. Then they know they can put the ball on the ground, and basically the game is over because you don't have enough time to come back.
That's right, time of possession.
Yeah, but that's going to depend on, you know, the advancement that Jalen shows. Can he be consistent enough to shred a defensive secondary that you've got all the weapons here? Can they do that? But that's the kind of football they would like to play, you know, because you come out, you use your passing game to build a lead, you use your running game sew it up and run out the rest of the clock. So that's the way they would like to play. We'll see whether they're able to, but a lot of that is going to depend on how good is Jalen. And if he can't be that dependable in the passing game, then they got to run the ball too much, and you got the chance of injury there. You got a lot more chance of injury.
Absolutely, Gary. As always,
we're going to find out.
And we're getting ready for the mini camps and the training camps. Boy, I'll tell you what, man, that's a really troubling observation that you made, though, about Jordan Davis. And again, I agree with you. You train for the combines. Those are things you'll never do in your life again.
Yeah.
But, man, it's May 16th. Homie better get on a bike, man. And lay off in White Castles.
Now, this was something that was a little chuckle, too. He was asked kind of about how, about his staying in shape and everything. He talked about, he was down there walking around he was walking around, somewhere over there in Philly, over there near where they had the hotel and stuff. And I'm going like, kid, when you start talking about getting in shape, you don't talk about walking.
Dude, you don't walk to your water.
Hey, it ain't gonna be walking, but they got
old
the time.
Men walk.
Yeah, they got the time, but that's gonna be one of the things though, and he's gonna have to make it a lifestyle, because that 350 pounds, he's probably gonna need to lose some of that, but he's got to watch what he's eating, got to train regularly. This is not a hobby. This is a occupation. And
Gary, I think you're being kind, and I think I can hear it in the back of your mind right now. Hey, we need some discipline here. Gary, I appreciate it. We got to roll, my friend.
All right, have a good one.
You got it. Wow. Oh, we're definitely going to hit on that. Homie Nate leads to hang on to the treadmill a little longer and get off the White Castles. All right, hey, Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Picking an attorney is one of the most important things that you can possibly do for your family, and making sure that you get the fair compensation that you deserve. And this is what Morgan & Morgan does. If you're hurt or injured on the job, finding that attorney is the most important thing. For the people, it's not a slogan. This is who Morgan & Morgan is, okay? Protecting you and your family's rights. There is no such thing as a fender bender when you talk Morgan & Morgan. Last 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has collected over $13.5 billion in settlements for their clients. They're the biggest casualty firm in the country, with over 800 attorneys in offices in Philly, New York, Florida, all across the country. There is nobody ready to go to battle for you to make sure you get your fair compensation. The call is free, 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. The consultation is free, 800-512-1600. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
After a car crash, the big insurance companies you see advertising on TV, they may try to downplay your case and might say it's only a fender bender or it's just a herniated disc. I worry that some law firms fall for this BS. Not us. We put ourselves in your shoes and ask, what would it be like to be in your pain for the rest of our lives? $1 million wouldn't be enough for me. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. For the people.com.